The Caped Crusader has a long and varied history on the big screen, ranging from the super campy Adam West version in the 60s to Christian Bale's more realistic take on the character in the 2000s. But for as many Batman movies that have been made, there are a ton that never made it past pre-production, and the ones that did went through so many changes that the final version barely resembled the original pitch. So what could have been? I'm Greg Elliott with Screen Rant, and here's a rundown of all the cancelled Batman movies and why they didn't happen.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
Holy sardine!
A year before the first Batman movie and TV show, longtime Godzilla movie writer Shinichi Sekizawa proposed the idea of Batman vs. Godzilla. No, seriously. To this day, we don't know whether he ever actually pitched it to DC and whether it was abandoned because of the show and movie, but both Batman and the Monsterverse are now based at Warner Brothers, so technically, this crossover could still happen.
You're just jealous because I'm a genuine freak and you have to wear a mask.
It might not be a surprise to hear that Tim Burton wanted to do a third Batman movie with Michael Keaton. It would have featured the Riddler, brought back Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, added Rene Russo as Dr. Chase Meridian, and Marlon Wayans as Robin after he'd been cast, then cut from Batman Returns. But when Batman Returns didn't do as well as the first and was criticized for its darker tone, Warner Brothers ditched Burton for the more family-friendly Batman Forever. And that actually paid off, and Batman Forever ended up outgrossing Batman Returns. And while Joel Schumacher was in production on Batman and Robin, WB already started planning the next one called Batman Unchained, which would have seen Scarecrow and Harley Quinn team up to mess with Bruce. But when Batman and Robin's card got denied by critics and at the box office, Schumacher's Batman 5 was cancelled for good. Back in 2012, Chris O'Donnell actually told Access Hollywood that there were plans for a Robin spin-off as well, but it suffered the same fate after Batman and Robin bombed.
All right, everyone, chill.
Not long before they decided to reboot the franchise in the 2000s, WB was approached about making Batman Dark Knight, based in part on Frank Miller's classic The Dark Knight Returns. It would have featured Scarecrow and Man-Bat, and would have taken Bats away from the neon and back to his darker roots, but in the end, Warner Brothers decided to focus on a younger Bruce Wayne instead. At one point, WB had both a live-action adaptation of Batman Beyond and a movie based on Miller's Batman Year One in the works, and they even got as far as to hire Darren Aronofsky to direct Year One, who compared his Batman to Taxi Driver's Travis Bickle and said the movie would have resembled grim and violent 70s thrillers like Death Wish. Now, at the time, the studio had their eye on Freddie Prinze Jr. as Bruce, but Aronofsky really wanted, get this, Joaquin Phoenix. 15 years or so before Batman v Superman hit theaters, there was a Batman vs Superman in the works designed to reboot both franchises simultaneously, with Colin Farrell and Jude Law lined up to play Bats and Supes. And writer Akiva Goldsman called it, quote, the darkest thing you've ever seen. But WB ultimately decided to keep them separate and make a darker Batman reboot and a lighter Superman one, which ended up becoming Batman Begins and Superman Returns.
Well, I hope this experience hasn't put any of you off flying. Statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel.
A Batman and Superman crossover wasn't the only thing WB considered then abandoned in the 2000s, before revisiting the concept in the DCEU. Mad Max director George Miller was just about to start production on Justice League Mortal in the summer of 2008 when the studio suddenly pulled the plug. Armie Hammer was cast as Bruce in the film and later described his version of the character as being severely psychologically almost deranged, but later said that he was relieved the movie didn't happen as he didn't think that he would have done a great job.
20 years in Gotham, Alfred. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way?
It's no secret that Warner Brothers initially planned to do a solo Batman film with Ben Affleck. In addition to reprising his role as Bruce Wayne, he was going to co-write the script and direct it too, but that all fell apart for a whole slew of reasons, and the movie has since been completely revamped, now being written and directed by Matt Reeves, and starring Robert Pattinson as a younger, less experienced Batman earlier in his career. There have been tons of film ideas that never saw the light of day, and even superheroes aren't invulnerable to Hollywood's finicky tastes. We're looking forward to seeing what Pattinson brings to the big screen, and we'll definitely keep you posted as we learn more about the world's greatest detective. I'm Greg Elliott with Screen Rant, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.